Rancher saved a lost Apache woman. Today she calls him husband. The scent of dry grass and the faint whistle of the wind through the canyons were as familiar to him as the lines on his own hands. Life on the ranch was never easy, but John had learned to accept its challenges. From caring for the cattle to repairing fences under the scorching sun, every day demanded hard work, patience, and resilience. He loved the solitude, the feeling of being connected to the earth, and the sense of responsibility that came with it. But on one particular summer day, something happened that would change his life forever. The morning had started like any other. John saddled his horse, Dusty, and rode out to check on the grazing herd. The heat was already rising, even though the sun had barely crossed the horizon. He enjoyed these quiet moments, listening to the distant calls of birds and the rustle of small animals in the underbrush. As he rode along a narrow canyon trail, something unusual caught his attention, a faint, trembling sound. At first he thought it might be the wind, but then he heard it again, clearer this time, a human voice calling softly for help. John's instincts kicked in. He urged Dusty forward, moving carefully through the rocky terrain. The sound grew louder, more urgent, and he realized someone was in trouble. As he rounded a bend in the canyon, he saw her, a young woman crouched near a dry creek bed, her clothes dusty and torn and her eyes wide with fear. She looked exhausted, her body trembling from heat and dehydration. John slowed his horse and called out gently, "Hey, are you okay? Can you stand?" The woman looked up, startled. Her dark hair was tangled and her skin was sunburned, but there was a strength in her eyes that told John she had fought hard to survive. She hesitated for a moment, unsure whether she could trust this stranger who had appeared seemingly out of nowhere. John dismounted slowly, keeping his hands visible and speaking in a calm, soothing tone. "My name is John. I'm a rancher. You're safe now. Can I help you?" For a long moment she did not respond. Finally, her voice came out barely above a whisper. I don't know where I am. I've been lost for days." Her words were halting, filled with fear and exhaustion. John felt a pang of concern. He had seen people lost in the wilderness before, but never anyone as young and alone as her. He offered her water from his canteen, and she drank slowly, her hands shaking as she held the container. "Thank you," she murmured, her voice almost breaking. John nodded, letting her rest for a few moments before helping her to her feet. Her legs were weak, and she wobbled as she tried to stand, but with John's steadying hand, she regained her balance. He realized she must have been walking without proper food or water for days. The desert was unforgiving, and without guidance it could easily take a life in a matter of hours. "Can you tell me your name?" John asked gently. She hesitated again, then said, "Maya." It was a simple name, but it carried a quiet dignity. "Maya, I'm going to get you out of here," John assured her. "I know the land around here. I can take you back to safety." Maya looked around, her eyes scanning the rugged canyon walls, the dry riverbeds, and the dense brush. I tried to find my way to my relatives," she admitted. "I thought I could walk through the canyon, but I got lost. I didn't know which way to go, and I was afraid I would die out here." Her voice trembled, and John felt a deep sympathy for her. He knew the wilderness could be beautiful, but it was also dangerous, unpredictable, and merciless to those unprepared for it. He led her slowly along the trail, offering words of encouragement. "You're going to be okay. Just take it one step at a time. We'll get you home safely." Maya clutched his arm lightly, her grip weak but desperate for support. Every so often she would stumble, and John would steady her, making sure she did not fall. The sun climbed higher, and the heat became almost unbearable, but John focused on the path ahead, keeping his mind on her safety. As they walked, he noticed the signs of her struggle, blisters on her feet, scratches on her arms from the thorny bushes, and the tired slump of her shoulders. Yet despite her exhaustion, there was determination in her steps. She was not giving up, and John admired her courage. He knew that in moments like these, survival depended not only on physical strength but on mental resilience. Maya had both, and he could see it clearly. During brief pauses, he offered her more water and some dried fruit he always carried on long rides. "You have to keep your strength up," he said kindly. She nodded, taking the food slowly, savoring each bite. The silence between them was comfortable, filled only with the sounds of the canyon, birds calling, the rustle of wind through the rocks, and the faint clatter of Dusty's hooves as he followed steadily behind them. At one point, they came across a steep slope that required careful navigation. John went ahead, testing the path, then extended a hand to Maya. "Take it slowly. You can do this," he encouraged. She trusted him completely, placing her hand in his and stepping cautiously. Each step was a struggle, but together they managed to descend safely. John's heart was calm but alert. He knew that one misstep in the canyon could be dangerous. As the day progressed, John and Maya talked in short bursts, sharing fragments of their lives. Maya spoke of her family, her culture, and her dreams of seeing the world beyond her small community. John shared stories of the ranch, his work with the cattle, and the quiet satisfaction he found in living close to the land. Despite the circumstances, there was a growing sense of connection between them, a silent understanding that they were not alone in this moment of hardship. By late afternoon, they found a shaded area where they could rest. John spread a blanket on the ground and Maya sat down, finally allowing herself to relax. She leaned back, closing her eyes, and let out a long sigh. "I didn't think I would make it," she admitted softly. I thought I would be lost forever." John sat beside her, offering quiet reassurance. "You're safe now. You're stronger than you realize, and you made it this far. That's what matters." As the sun began to dip toward the horizon, casting golden light across the canyon walls, John looked at Maya and realized that this encounter was more than just a rescue. There was a bond forming, subtle but undeniable, built on trust, compassion, and the shared experience of surviving a dangerous ordeal. He did not know what the future held, but he knew that in that moment they were connected in a way that went beyond words. By evening, they set up a small camp. John started a fire, careful to follow safety rules, while Maya helped gather small pieces of wood. They shared a simple meal, and for the first time that day, Maya smiled genuinely, her eyes reflecting relief and gratitude. "Thank you," she said, her voice stronger now. "I don't know what I would have done without you." John nodded, feeling a quiet warmth in his chest. "You don't have to thank me. You did the hard part. You kept going when it mattered most." As the stars began to appear in the clear night sky, Maya lay back on the blanket, feeling safe for the first time in days. John sat nearby, watching over her and the ranch that stretched endlessly around them. He knew that the journey ahead would be long. They still had to get back to her home, but for now they had each other, and that was enough. The wilderness had tested them, but it had also brought them together. That night, as the fire crackled and the cool desert breeze blew softly, John thought about the strange twists of fate. A simple ride through the canyon had led to this extraordinary encounter, and he realized that sometimes life had a way of connecting people when they least expected it. Maya, though weary, looked up at him with a quiet trust that filled him with a sense of purpose. In that moment, he understood that saving her was not just an act of kindness. It was the beginning of a story neither of them could have predicted. And so, under the vast Arizona sky, the rancher and the lost Apache woman began a journey that would test their strength, challenge their hearts, and ultimately change their lives forever. The morning sun rose slowly over the rugged landscape, casting warm golden light across the canyon. John and Maya were already awake, the crisp air of the desert refreshing after the warmth of the previous day. They had camped near a small patch of shade, with Dusty grazing nearby, and for a moment the world felt peaceful. But John knew their journey was far from over. Maya still had to get home safely, and the path ahead would be challenging. He had to remain vigilant, not only for her safety but for his own, navigating the unpredictable terrain of the wilderness. After a simple breakfast of bread, dried fruit, and water, John helped Maya gather her belongings. Her pack was light, but the weight of exhaustion lingered in her steps. "Are you ready?" John asked, offering his hand. Maya took it, her fingers brushing against his with a faint tremble. "I'm ready," she replied, her voice steadier now, strengthened by the rest and nourishment. John smiled, feeling a sense of reassurance. Together, they began their trek through the winding canyon trails. The path was treacherous, full of uneven rocks, loose soil, and steep slopes. John led the way carefully, scanning the surroundings for potential dangers. Maya followed closely, trusting his guidance completely. Every so often she would stumble, and John would steady her with a firm hand, never letting go until she regained her balance. The sun climbed higher, and the heat became intense, making the air shimmer above the rocks. Sweat ran down their faces, but neither complained. Survival demanded focus and perseverance, and both understood the importance of moving steadily forward. As they walked, John shared tips on navigating the wilderness. "Always look for natural markers," he said, pointing to distinctive rock formations. "They can help you find your way back if you get lost. And drink water in small amounts. Don't gulp it all at once, or your body won't absorb it properly." Maya listened intently, absorbing every word. She was amazed at how much knowledge John had about the land. "You've lived here all your life?" she asked. John nodded. "I have. The land teaches you lessons every day if you're willing to listen." Their conversation shifted naturally from survival to personal stories. Maya spoke of her childhood in a small Apache community, of the traditions and values she had grown up with. She told John about her family, her hopes, and the desire to explore beyond the familiar boundaries of her home. John shared his own experiences, recounting life on the ranch, the hard work required to care for the cattle, and the satisfaction he felt in living close to nature. Despite the challenges, he loved this life, and Maya admired his resilience and calm demeanor. As the afternoon wore on, the terrain grew more difficult. They had to climb over boulders, navigate narrow ledges, and cross shallow streams. At one point, Maya slipped on a loose stone and nearly fell. John grabbed her just in time, holding her securely. "Careful," he said, concern evident in his voice. Maya's heart pounded, but she smiled weakly, grateful for his presence. "Thank you," she whispered. John nodded. "We have to keep moving, but I've got you. Don't worry." They found brief moments of relief under the shade of sparse trees and rocks, sitting to rest and sip water. During these pauses, Maya reflected on the situation she found herself in. She had been lost, terrified, and alone. Now, with John by her side, she felt a growing sense of safety and trust. It was remarkable how quickly a bond could form under such circumstances, born from shared struggle and reliance on one another. She realized that survival was not just about physical endurance. It was about connection, about having someone to guide you and someone to believe in. As the sun began to dip toward the horizon, the canyon transformed. Shadows stretched long across the rocks, and the air cooled slightly. John knew they had to find a place to camp before darkness fell completely. He spotted a flat area near a small cluster of trees and led Maya there. The ground was uneven, but it was safe enough to rest. Dusty grazed nearby, occasionally looking up to ensure his master was safe. John set up a small fire, careful to follow safety precautions, while Maya gathered dry wood and small twigs. She was hesitant at first, unsure of how much she could help, but John encouraged her gently, showing her how to place the kindling and strike the matches safely. Sitting by the fire, they shared a simple meal of bread, dried fruit, and water. The warmth of the flames against the cool desert night was comforting. Maya watched the fire flicker, her thoughts wandering. She had never imagined she would be in this situation, lost, vulnerable, yet safe in the hands of someone she had just met. She realized that courage was not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move forward despite it. John noticed her contemplation and smiled softly. "You've been very brave," he said. "Most people would have given up by now." Maya looked at him, a mixture of gratitude and admiration in her eyes. "I couldn't have done it without you," she replied. As darkness settled fully over the canyon, the stars appeared in the sky, countless points of light stretching endlessly above them. The quiet was profound, interrupted only by the crackling of the fire and the occasional call of a night bird. John and Maya talked quietly, sharing hopes and dreams. Maya spoke of her desire to see the world beyond her community, to learn, to experience life in ways she had only imagined. John shared his own reflections, the satisfaction of living a simple, honest life, and the unexpected beauty of moments like these, where human connection became more important than anything else. Through the night, John remained alert, watching over Maya and ensuring she remained safe. He understood the importance of trust in such situations and respected her need for space while providing reassurance. Maya, despite her exhaustion, felt a deep sense of gratitude. She realized that survival was not just about being physically safe. It was about finding someone who would care for you, who would stand by you without judgment, and who would guide you through uncertainty with patience and understanding. As the fire burned down to embers, they lay down on the blanket, the cool desert breeze brushing against their skin. Maya's thoughts drifted to the day ahead, knowing that the journey to her home would still be long and difficult. Yet, for the first time since she had gotten lost, she felt hope. She trusted John, not just because he had saved her, but because he had treated her with kindness and respect. The bond that had formed between them was quiet but undeniable, a connection forged in the wilderness under the pressure of survival. Morning came again, bringing with it another day of challenges. The canyon was alive with the sounds of birds and the rustle of small animals in the underbrush. John and Maya rose early, ready to continue their trek. The journey was slow but steady. John took the lead, carefully choosing the safest path, while Maya followed, growing more confident with each step. She had learned from him how to navigate the terrain, how to find landmarks, and how to conserve her energy. The lessons were practical, but they also carried deeper meaning. Lessons about trust, perseverance, and the quiet strength that comes from facing fear head-on. As they moved through the canyon, they encountered new obstacles: a fallen tree blocking their path, a steep incline, and patches of thorny brush. Each challenge required careful navigation, and each time John was there to guide her. Maya's confidence grew, not only because of the practical skills she was learning, but because she felt a growing sense of partnership with John. They were no longer just two people moving through the wilderness. They were a team, relying on each other, learning from each other, and facing the challenges together. By the afternoon, the canyon began to open up into a wider valley. The landscape changed, the rocks giving way to patches of grass and sparse trees. Maya could see signs of civilization in the distance, smoke rising from a distant home, the faint outline of a road. Relief washed over her, but she knew the journey was not over. John remained focused, guiding her carefully toward safety. He was patient, never rushing, understanding that the final steps of a long journey could be the most dangerous if caution was lost. As they approached the edge of the valley, Maya paused, looking back at the canyon they had traversed. The journey had been grueling, but it had also been transformative. She realized that in facing the wilderness, she had discovered strength she didn't know she had. And in John, she had found someone who embodied courage, kindness, and unwavering patience. The bond between them had deepened, born not just from necessity but from mutual respect and understanding. By the time they reached a small, shaded clearing where they could rest, the sun was beginning to set. The air was cooler, and the valley around them seemed peaceful. They sat together, sharing water and a small meal, reflecting on the day. Maya looked at John, her eyes filled with gratitude and something more, a quiet admiration for the man who had guided her, protected her, and treated her with respect and care. John met her gaze, feeling a similar connection, a recognition that their encounter had changed both of their lives in ways neither could have anticipated. As the stars began to appear once more, John and Maya prepared to camp for the night, knowing that the final stretch of their journey was near. The experiences of the day had strengthened their bond, built trust, and created a quiet understanding between them. They were no longer just a rancher and a lost traveler. They were companions, connected through shared struggle, mutual respect, and the quiet, unspoken promise of support that had carried them through the wilderness together. By the time the sun rose the next morning, John and Maya had already packed their small camp, ready for the final leg of their journey. The air was crisp and cool, carrying the faint smell of wildflowers that grew along the valley edges. Dusty followed obediently behind them, his hooves softly crunching against the dirt path. John glanced at Maya, noting the determined expression on her face. Though exhausted from the days of travel and struggle, she had grown stronger, more confident, and her eyes now held a quiet spark of courage. They began their walk through the valley, the terrain gradually becoming easier but still challenging. Small streams crossed their path, requiring careful stepping on slippery stones. Occasionally, Maya's foot would slip, but John was always there to steady her, his hand firm and reassuring. Each time she felt an increasing trust, a reliance on him that went beyond simple survival. She had come to depend not only on his strength and guidance, but also on his calm presence and unwavering patience. As they walked, Maya's thoughts drifted back to her family. She thought of her parents, her younger siblings, and the worry they must have felt over her disappearance. She hadn't intended to get lost. She had simply wanted a small adventure, a chance to explore beyond the familiar paths of her community. But now, reflecting on the journey, she realized how unprepared she had been. She felt a mixture of shame and relief, grateful for John's intervention and guidance. She wanted to tell him how much his help had meant, but words felt inadequate for the depth of her gratitude. John noticed the contemplative silence and offered encouragement. "We're almost there," he said, pointing to a distant cluster of trees and smoke rising faintly in the sunlight. "You'll see your home soon." "Just a little further." Maya smiled weakly, feeling a mixture of relief and anticipation. The sight of civilization, even from a distance, filled her with hope. Yet she also felt a pang of sadness, knowing that the intense bond formed over the past days might be interrupted once she returned to her family and daily life. The path led them through a small grove of trees, the shade providing welcome relief from the rising heat. Birds flitted between branches, their songs adding a cheerful melody to the quiet afternoon. Maya noticed how John moved with ease, navigating uneven terrain and obstacles effortlessly. She realized that his connection to the land went beyond mere experience. He seemed almost in tune with every rock, tree, and animal around him. Watching him, she felt admiration and a growing sense of trust that went far deeper than gratitude. After several hours, they reached the edge of the valley, where the landscape opened into a small dirt road. The distant sound of human activity, a wagon rolling, voices calling, grew louder. Maya's heart leapt, and she quickened her pace slightly, eager to reach safety. John stayed by her side, keeping a careful eye on her, aware that the sudden excitement could cause her to misstep. Finally, they reached a small clearing where Maya could see her relatives waiting. Her parents' faces were filled with relief, worry etched into their features, and as she ran toward them, tears streamed down her face. John followed at a respectful distance, allowing Maya to reunite with her family. Her mother embraced her tightly, whispering words of relief and gratitude. Her father's hands trembled as he held hers, checking for injuries, while her siblings crowded around, asking questions and expressing concern. Maya turned back toward John, her eyes searching for him amidst the chaos. When she found him, she smiled through her tears, mouthing a quiet thank you. John nodded, his own eyes glistening with a mixture of relief and pride. Her family insisted that John come closer, and he approached slowly, keeping a respectful distance while offering a polite greeting. "Thank you for bringing her back safely," her father said, his voice filled with gratitude. "We don't know what would have happened without you." John shook his head modestly. "She was strong and brave. I only guided her. She made it through because of her own courage." Maya's mother looked at her daughter, seeing the change in her. The ordeal had left its mark, but it had also brought out a new strength, confidence, and resilience in Maya that none of them had seen before. Over the next few days, Maya rested and recovered under the care of her family. She slept deeply, ate nourishing food, and gradually regained her strength. John visited periodically, checking on her progress and offering practical advice about hydration, rest, and recovery. Their conversations, though brief, were filled with warmth and understanding. Maya shared stories of the journey, highlighting moments of fear, relief, and learning, while John listened attentively, offering encouragement and insight. During one visit, Maya and John found themselves alone for a moment, sitting together on a small bench under a shady tree. "I still can't believe I got lost like that," she said softly, her voice tinged with both embarrassment and reflection. John smiled gently. "It happens to the best of us. The important thing is you made it through. And you did it with courage." Maya looked at him, feeling a quiet admiration. "You saved me," she whispered. John's expression softened. "We saved each other. You trusted me, and that made all the difference." As the days passed, Maya began to integrate back into her community. She visited friends and neighbors, sharing her story of survival and expressing gratitude for the support she had received. Her family noticed a subtle change in her demeanor. She walked taller, spoke with more confidence, and had a calmness that seemed to come from having faced and overcome a significant challenge. John's influence was evident, not only in her practical skills but in her ability to remain composed and courageous under pressure. Despite the bustle of family life, Maya often thought about John. She reflected on the long hours they had spent walking together, the moments of fear and trust, and the quiet conversations under the desert sky. She realized that the experience had created a bond between them, one that went beyond mere gratitude. There was a connection rooted in mutual respect, shared struggle, and an understanding of each other's character that could not be easily replicated. John, too, found himself thinking about Maya during his rides on the ranch. Her courage, intelligence, and resilience had left a lasting impression. He admired the way she handled challenges, her ability to remain composed, and the quiet strength that had carried her through the wilderness. Though he had guided her physically, he realized that their journey had been as much emotional as it had been physical. They had both changed, each learning from the other in ways neither had anticipated. One afternoon, John brought Maya a small gift, a simple leather-bound notebook. "I thought you could use this," he said, handing it to her. "You can write about your journey, your thoughts, or anything else you want. Sometimes putting your experiences on paper helps you see how far you've come." Maya accepted it, touched by the gesture. She realized that John understood her, not just as someone he had helped, but as a person with her own story, her own dreams, and her own strength. As the weeks turned into months, their bond continued to grow. Maya would often visit John at the ranch, helping with chores, learning more about ranch life, and spending time with Dusty. Each visit was filled with shared laughter, quiet conversations, and moments of mutual respect. The friendship that had begun in the canyon had deepened, evolving into a connection that felt natural, unforced, and genuine. During one visit, John took Maya to a small hill overlooking the ranch. "I wanted to show you something," he said, gesturing to the wide expanse of land below. "This is where I work, where I live. It's not much, but it's home." Maya looked out over the fields, the cattle grazing peacefully, and the sun casting golden light over the landscape. She felt a sense of peace and belonging, realizing that the experiences she had endured had led her to this moment, to a place of safety, trust, and connection. They sat together on the hill, watching the sunset in silence. The colors of the sky shifted from gold to deep orange to soft purple, reflecting in Maya's eyes. She thought about the journey that had brought them here, the fear, the struggle, the trust, and the quiet moments of shared understanding. She realized that John was no longer just the man who had saved her. He had become someone integral to her life, someone she admired, respected, and cared for deeply. John noticed the contemplative look on her face and gently asked, "What are you thinking about?" Maya turned to him, her eyes reflecting both gratitude and affection. "I'm thinking about how lucky I am," she said softly. "To have made it through, to have found safety, and to have met someone like you. You didn't just save me, you helped me find strength I didn't know I had." John felt a quiet warmth in his chest, touched by her words. "You always had that strength," he said. "I just helped you see it." That night, as Maya returned to her family's home, she felt a sense of anticipation for the days ahead. The bond she shared with John had grown stronger, and she looked forward to the moments they would continue to share. She understood that their journey was not just about survival. It was about connection, trust, and the beginning of something that had the potential to last a lifetime. The weeks after Maya's return to her family were filled with both routine and anticipation. Life slowly returned to normal for her, but there was a quiet excitement that lingered in her heart. She often found herself thinking about John, about the days they had spent together in the wilderness, and about the way he had guided her safely through dangers she never imagined she could face. Their bond had grown from trust into something more, a connection that was deeper, gentler, and more enduring than she could have expected. Maya began visiting John at the ranch more frequently. Each visit felt like stepping into a different world, one where she could learn, explore, and enjoy the simplicity of ranch life. She helped him with chores, feeding the cattle, repairing fences, and collecting firewood. At first she was clumsy, unsure of how to handle tools or manage the animals. John would gently guide her, showing patience and encouragement rather than criticism. "It's okay," he would say, smiling. "Everyone starts somewhere. Just take it one step at a time." Maya appreciated his patience, and she found herself growing more confident and capable with each task. The two of them shared long walks around the ranch, talking about everything from their dreams to small details of everyday life. Maya spoke about her desire to explore the world beyond her community, to experience new cultures, and to learn skills she had never imagined. John listened carefully, offering advice when appropriate, but more often simply encouraging her to pursue her goals. "You have the courage," he said. "All you need is determination and patience. The rest will follow." Maya admired his wisdom and strength, realizing that he had taught her much more than survival skills. He had shown her the value of perseverance, humility, and respect for the world around her. Their friendship grew deeper with each visit. They shared laughter and jokes, teasing each other over small mistakes and celebrating little successes together. Maya began to notice how much she enjoyed being around him, how his presence brought a sense of calm and safety that she could not find anywhere else. John, too, found himself thinking about her more often than he expected. Her courage, intelligence, and gentle spirit had left a lasting impression on him, and he began to realize that his feelings were evolving into something more profound than mere friendship. One afternoon, John took Maya to a secluded area of the ranch near a small creek. The water was clear and cool, reflecting the sky above, and the surrounding trees provided a quiet, private space. They sat on a fallen log, letting their feet dangle near the water's edge. "I wanted to show you this spot," John said softly. "It's peaceful here. It's a place I come when I need to think." Maya looked around, appreciating the beauty and serenity of the place. "It's wonderful," she said, her voice filled with admiration. "I can see why you love it here." John smiled, noticing the way her eyes sparkled in the sunlight. He felt a warmth in his chest that he could not quite explain. As they spent more time together, Maya and John began to confide in each other about their pasts, sharing experiences and stories they had never told anyone else. Maya spoke of her childhood in the Apache community, the traditions she cherished, and the challenges she had faced growing up. John shared memories of his youth, the lessons he had learned on the ranch, and the hardships that had shaped him into the man he had become. These conversations deepened their understanding of each other, creating a bond built not only on shared experiences, but also on empathy, respect, and genuine affection. Despite the growing closeness, they were both careful not to rush their feelings. Maya had her family and her community to consider, and John understood the importance of patience and respect. Their interactions were marked by gentle gestures, meaningful conversations, and shared moments that slowly revealed the depth of their connection. Whether they were laughing over a small mishap with the cattle or sitting quietly watching the sunset, there was an unspoken understanding between them, a recognition that their friendship was evolving into something far more significant. One evening, after a long day of work on the ranch, John and Maya sat on the porch of the small ranch house, enjoying the cool desert air. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, and the distant mountains stood like silent guardians over the land. "You know," Maya said softly, breaking the comfortable silence, "I never imagined that getting lost would lead me here to this moment." John looked at her, noticing the sincerity in her eyes. "Life has a funny way of working out," he replied. "Sometimes, the most unexpected events bring the greatest blessings." Maya smiled, feeling a quiet happiness that had nothing to do with the physical journey and everything to do with the connection she shared with John. As the days turned into weeks, Maya and John began spending more time together outside of work. They explored the surrounding countryside, taking long walks through meadows and along streams, sharing stories, and simply enjoying each other's company. The comfort and trust they had developed during their initial journey in the wilderness became the foundation for a growing affection. They found joy in simple things, watching the sunset, listening to the wind rustle through the trees, and laughing at small, shared moments. Their community began to notice the closeness between them. Neighbors would see Maya helping John on the ranch, her laughter mingling with his as they worked side by side. Some whispered, others smiled knowingly, but John and Maya paid little attention to gossip. They were focused on building their relationship, learning from each other, and nurturing the bond that had grown from trust and shared experience. Maya appreciated that John respected her independence and background, and John admired Maya's courage, intelligence, and warmth. One afternoon, as they worked together to mend a broken fence, a sudden summer storm rolled in. Dark clouds gathered overhead, and rain began to fall in heavy sheets. John guided Maya to a small shed nearby, and they took shelter, watching the storm together. The intensity of the rain and the power of the wind created a sense of intimacy and shared experience. They laughed at the situation, enjoying the thrill of the storm and the comfort of each other's presence. In that moment, the bond between them felt unbreakable, strengthened by the trust and care that had carried them through past challenges. As the storm passed and the sun returned, they continued working, but the mood had shifted subtly. There was a quiet awareness between them, a recognition that their friendship had deepened into something more. Small gestures, a touch on the arm, a meaningful glance, a shared smile, began to carry new significance. Maya found herself thinking about John when she was not at the ranch, and John realized he felt the same. Their feelings were growing, evolving naturally without pressure or haste, rooted in mutual respect and genuine admiration. Over the next few months, their relationship continued to blossom. They celebrated small victories on the ranch, shared quiet moments under the stars, and explored the surrounding land together. Maya introduced John to aspects of her Apache culture, teaching him about traditions, stories, and values that were important to her. John, in turn, shared his knowledge of ranch life, survival skills, and the practical wisdom he had gained over the years. Through these exchanges, they learned not only about each other but also about the importance of understanding, respect, and compromise in any relationship. One evening, as they sat by a campfire near the edge of the ranch, John spoke quietly, breaking the comfortable silence. "Maya, I know we've been through a lot together," he began, his voice sincere. "I've come to admire your courage, your kindness, and your strength. I care about you more than I can express." Maya's eyes met his, reflecting both surprise and a deep warmth. "John," she said softly, "I feel the same way. I never expected, but I think I've felt this for a long time." They sat in silence for a moment, the crackling fire filling the space between them, both realizing that their friendship had naturally evolved into love. From that night onward, their relationship took on a new dimension. Their affection was expressed through caring gestures, shared responsibilities, and continued respect for each other's independence. They spent evenings walking together under the stars, mornings working side by side on the ranch, and afternoons exploring the surrounding countryside. Each moment strengthened their bond, blending friendship, trust, and love into a connection that felt unshakable. Maya's family, seeing the genuine affection and respect between them, grew to accept and support their relationship. They admired John's patience, kindness, and integrity, recognizing that he valued Maya not only for her beauty or charm, but for her character, courage, and spirit. John's community also embraced Maya, appreciating the way she brought warmth, curiosity, and intelligence to the ranch. Together, John and Maya were no longer simply two people navigating their individual lives. They had become partners, supporting and enriching each other's worlds. As the months passed, the challenges they faced together on the ranch, the shared experiences, and the trials of their initial journey in the wilderness all became the foundation of a deep, enduring love. Their connection was not built on instant passion, but on trust, respect, understanding, and shared experience, qualities that promised a strong, lasting relationship. Both John and Maya knew that life would continue to present challenges, but they felt ready to face them together, confident in the strength of the bond they had nurtured and the love that had grown naturally from friendship. The days that followed felt like a dream to both John and Maya. Their love, which had grown quietly and naturally over months of shared experiences, now carried a warmth and certainty that neither had expected. The ranch, which had always been a place of hard work and routine, seemed brighter with Maya by John's side. Every sunrise brought new opportunities, new joys, and a sense of shared purpose that strengthened their bond. They continued to work together, caring for the cattle, repairing fences, and tending to the land, but the moments of labor were now filled with laughter, quiet conversation, and the gentle comfort of companionship. Maya had grown into her role on the ranch with confidence and skill. She had learned to manage the cattle, navigate the rugged terrain, and handle the daily challenges that ranch life demanded. John watched her with admiration, not only for her abilities, but for the grace and patience she displayed as she learned. She was no longer the lost, frightened girl who had wandered into the canyon days before. She had become a capable, resilient woman who could face challenges with courage and intelligence. John felt proud and inspired by her transformation, realizing that their shared journey had changed both of them in profound ways. As their relationship deepened, John began thinking about their future together. He wanted to honor Maya, her heritage, and the bond they had formed. He also wanted to express the depth of his feelings in a meaningful way. One evening, as the sun set over the wide Arizona plains, John took Maya to a quiet hill overlooking the ranch. The sky was ablaze with colors, soft pinks, deep oranges, and golden yellows, casting a serene glow over the land. He reached for her hand, feeling the warmth of her fingers in his, and spoke from the heart. "Maya," he began softly, "I know life has brought us together in ways neither of us expected. I never imagined that a chance encounter in the canyon would lead to this, to you. You've shown me courage, kindness, and a strength that inspires me every day. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" Maya's eyes widened, tears forming at the edges, but her smile radiated joy. "Yes," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "Yes, I will." In that moment the past, with its struggles and fears, felt distant, and all that mattered was the promise of a future together. The news of their engagement spread through both communities, and friends and family gathered to celebrate. Maya's family, who had watched her grow from a young girl into a courageous and independent woman, embraced John with warmth and gratitude. They recognized the sincerity of his love, his patience, and his respect for Maya's heritage. John's friends and neighbors admired Maya's intelligence, resilience, and gentle spirit, understanding that she complemented John perfectly. Together, John and Maya had built a bridge between two worlds, blending ranch life with Apache traditions in a way that felt natural and harmonious. The preparations for the wedding were filled with excitement and care. Maya chose elements of her Apache heritage to honor in the ceremony, symbols, rituals, and traditions that were meaningful to her and her family. John contributed his own touches, reflecting the simplicity and authenticity of ranch life. The wedding was held on the ranch, surrounded by family, friends, and the natural beauty of the land that had brought them together. The ceremony was intimate yet heartfelt, a celebration of love, trust, and the journey that had led them to this day. On the day of the wedding, Maya wore a dress that honored both her cultural roots and the simplicity of her new life with John. Her hair was adorned with subtle, traditional decorations, and her smile radiated happiness. John stood beside her, his eyes reflecting pride, love, and gratitude for the remarkable woman he was about to marry. As they exchanged vows, the sincerity in their words was evident to everyone present. They spoke not only of love but of partnership, respect, and a commitment to face life's challenges together. Friends and family looked on with emotion, witnessing a love that had grown through trust, shared experiences, and mutual understanding. After the ceremony, the celebration continued on the ranch. Tables were filled with food, music played softly in the background, and laughter echoed across the fields. Maya and John shared dances under the open sky, the stars beginning to appear as evening approached. Children ran through the grass, friends and family shared stories, and the atmosphere was filled with warmth and joy. Every detail of the day reflected the love and care that John and Maya had invested in each other, and it was clear to all who attended that this was a union built on more than romance. It was a bond rooted in respect, shared history, and genuine affection. In the days following their wedding, John and Maya settled into married life on the ranch. Their routine continued, but it was now enriched with the comfort of companionship, shared responsibility, and love. They worked together seamlessly, supporting each other in every task. Maya's confidence and skill continued to grow, and John admired her determination and resourcefulness. They faced challenges together, whether it was a sick calf, a broken fence, or unpredictable weather, and each experience strengthened their partnership. The ranch became not only their home, but a symbol of their shared journey and commitment. Beyond the practical aspects of ranch life, John and Maya found joy in simple moments together. They watched sunrises and sunsets, walked through meadows hand in hand, and shared quiet evenings by the fire. Their conversations ranged from everyday matters to dreams for the future, always grounded in respect and mutual understanding. Maya introduced John to more aspects of her Apache heritage, teaching him traditional stories, songs, and crafts. John, in turn, shared his knowledge of ranch life, wildlife, and the land they both loved. Through these exchanges, they continued to learn from each other, deepening their connection and appreciation for their individual strengths. As months turned into years, their love only grew stronger. They faced life's challenges together, supporting each other through hardships and celebrating successes. Maya's family remained an integral part of their lives, visiting often, sharing meals, and participating in ranch activities. John's friends and neighbors admired the way they complemented each other, seeing in their relationship a model of trust, respect, and partnership. Together, John and Maya built a life that was both fulfilling and meaningful, grounded in love, shared experience, and a commitment to each other. They also began to give back to the community, inspired by the journey that had brought them together. John and Maya helped those in need, guided travelers who found themselves lost, and shared their knowledge of the land with younger generations. Maya became a mentor to girls in her community, teaching them courage, resilience, and the importance of trust. John shared practical skills and wisdom, emphasizing the value of patience, respect, and compassion. Their story, born from a chance encounter in the wilderness, became a source of inspiration, demonstrating how kindness, courage, and love could transform lives. Years later, as John and Maya sat on the porch of their ranch house, watching the sun set over the rolling hills, they reflected on the journey that had brought them together. From the moment Maya had been lost in the canyon to the present, their lives had been intertwined in ways neither could have anticipated. They had faced danger, uncertainty, and challenge, yet through it all, they had found each other. Their love had grown from trust and friendship into a partnership that was strong, enduring, and filled with joy. Maya leaned against John, feeling the comfort of his presence, the steady warmth of his hand in hers. "I never imagined that getting lost would lead to this," she said softly. John smiled, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. "Neither did I," he replied. "But I can't imagine life without you now. You've changed my world, Maya." "For the better," she smiled, feeling a deep sense of contentment. "And you've changed mine," she said. "We were meant to find each other, even in the most unexpected way." Their story, which had begun with a chance encounter in a dangerous canyon, had grown into a lifelong partnership filled with love, respect, and shared purpose. They had faced challenges together, nurtured each other's growth, and built a life grounded in trust, kindness, and understanding. The ranch, the land that had been both a challenge and a refuge, now stood as a testament to their journey, a place of safety, love, and shared memories. As the stars emerged one by one in the clear night sky, John and Maya sat together, content and at peace. Their hands intertwined, they watched the moon rise over the desert hills, reflecting on the remarkable journey that had brought them to this moment. From lost and fearful beginnings to a life filled with love and purpose, they had created a story that was both extraordinary and profoundly human. In each other, they had found courage, companionship, and the promise of a future filled with hope and happiness. And so, under the vast Arizona sky, John and Maya's lives continued, intertwined and strong. They had faced the wilderness, the uncertainties of life, and the challenges of change, yet through it all, they had discovered that the greatest journey was not the one across the land, but the one that led them to each other. Together, they built a life of love, respect, and shared dreams, proving that even the most unexpected encounters could lead to the most remarkable and enduring partnerships.